are watching T Radio V, radio in TV.
Hello world, welcome to Lifestyle Buzz, where we are about to embark in a journey of discovery of a reality world. Huh? You know what, we live in such a, my opinion, okay, we live too much in La La Land, and we really need to bring reality into everything that we do every day. And it's really funny because Father's Day,
Yes.
I was treated to, I was treated to the Reagan Library. And I had never been there. You know, I've talked about it so much and everything, but I'd never been there.
Uh-huh.
And the minute I walked in, the memories started flashing on me because I met Ronald Reagan. I actually shook his hand, you know? And it brought me back to when I was a young pilot,
Uh-huh.
you know. The beginning, I was working for a corporate jet company at a local airport, and our company did all the charter work for the city, for Sacramento, for the state, Sacramento. And Ronald Reagan was the governor then, and they used to charter 2 jets, one for him and one for Nancy. They would never fly together.
Really?
No. I mean, number one, the jets were smaller.
Uh-huh.
And number two, Nancy was very protective of Ronald Reagan's image. For her entire focus was to make sure that his image was out there by itself.
Okay.
You know? And he was a very gentle man, I remember. You know, one time as a crew, we used to have our names on the bulkhead by the entrance. And he read my name, Orlando Burgos. And when we landed, he came out and he goes, "There's a famous city named Burgos in Spain. You should visit it." You know, but I'm going, okay, yeah. At that time, you know what? I mean, he was for us, he was California 1,
Yes.
and Nancy's was California 2,
Mm-hmm.
and that's how we went. You know, and at one leg of the flights, he would be with this particular crew, and then they would switch because they wanted for both crews to get to know everybody, you know. But they were very gentle. They were very, very, you know. And I go like, wow, man, you know, I had forgotten things like that. And it was just very emotional for me to know that once you go around the library, the greatness of the man,
Yes.
the simplicity of the man,
Uh-huh.
the greatness of the man, and the love of country, you know. And for me, it was a kind of a choking thing.
Sounds
you know?
like it was a very powerful experience for you.
It was because very much like everyone else in our country, I have become a little blasé about many things,
Mm-hmm.
you know. I realize that we really don't include our history as we should in the education of the kids. I mean, I know that I mean, many people don't know who Ronald Reagan really is, and I mean, like, it's a shame. I mean, I think it needs to be brought out more.
I agree, and I also think that we need to include more of our political history
Yes.
in all aspects of our educational curriculum, because what happens politically impacts us on so many levels. It impacts the taxes that we pay, the goods and services that are brought in, people's ability to open their own business.
Yes.
And we don't realize how much the government impacts every aspect of our life in many positive ways. We often hear people say the government's too big and the government this and the government that, all in negative aspects, but not looking at the positive benefits and the powerful things that we're able to do. And I'm sure you saw many of that at the of that at the library.
Well, yeah, you know what? One of the things that I come to the realization is that, and I have known this for a long, long time, is the fact that if you concentrate too much on the news, all you're going to get is the negative side of things. You very seldom see positive reporting about anything. I mean, you hear war zones, Iraq, Iran, I mean, wherever, Afghanistan. U.S. military kills, blah, blah, blah. But they don't never report on the fact that there was also the Army was building schools, the Marines were building roads, the Navy was there helping with infrastructure.
Well, the news is a bunch of rhetoric, a whole bunch of sound bites of dramatic things to try to get people to watch for that 2 or 3 second attention span that we have, 30-second attention span. They don't focus on, there's no depth, they barely even touch the breadth of what's going on, and everything's negative. There's nothing positive.
That's right. That's one of the things that I talk about. Now, kill Robin Hood.
Yes.
We're going to be talking about this. Let me take a little section here, and I want to talk to you about that.
Okay.
Because I think it, in many aspects, your book is all about getting people enthusiastic about being positive, creating wealth.
Yes. Okay.
But for one reason or another, I think that today the word wealth is, I guess, up until a point, people make it similar to being a bad person. Being wealthy means there's a dirty word all of a sudden.
Yes, it has very negative connotations to it. And when I first wrote this book and I came up with the title Kill Robin Hood, people were both fascinated and a little miffed almost. Well, what do you mean Kill Robin Hood? They thought, what a great title for a book. But then they said, what are you talking about, Kill Robin Hood? Isn't he one of the good guys? He's one of our heroes. And the concept behind the book for Kill Robin Hood is that we're not killing a person and we're not promoting violence. We're killing an ideology.
Right.
And so, and I talk about this in the very first chapter. We grow up with myths and fairy tales and fables, and these stories are designed to teach children how to be a good person, how to contribute to society, and how to internalize characteristics or traits of noble people. Right. And we internalize these things, and we don't even realize that we've internalized them as adults. So fast forward, we grew up with the story of Robin Hood, with the movies of Robin Hood, and the concept that, the Sheriff of Nottingham is this horrible, wretched person, and the king at the time was, people were starving because he wouldn't let them kill his deer because they were the king's deer. And so Robin Hood was this noble person who was an underdog, and we all identify with underdogs. Right. So he was this noble person and an underdog who went to right the wrongs of the wretched, wealthy people, take the money, steal the money from the wealthy, and give it back to the poor. And the underlying premise and concept of the fable of Kill Robin Hood, if you identify with Robin Hood in any way, then you identify with being the underdog. You identify with the concept that there is something greater than yourself outside of you trying to keep you down, oppress you, and prevent you from moving forward or having any level of success in your life, especially financial success. And you see that a lot in America with the conversation about the wealthiest 1%. Right. And I want to say, when I wrote the book Kill Robin Hood and all the aspects behind the book, I'm not saying that there are not inappropriate distributions of wealth in the world. I'm not saying that at all, because absolutely there are. I'm not saying that there aren't international conglomerates that are getting inappropriate tax breaks and are doing sometimes illegal or other times legal but completely unethical things. I realize that that's happening. But as an individual, I want to help people in their life have more, be more, do more, give more, share more, and just live a bigger life.
But one of the things that happens, all that is well and good, but the same people that you're trying to preach to about getting out there and have a better life, are the same people that are resisting this change because they feel that someone owes them that life that they desire. Instead of going out to go get it, somebody needs to give it to me.
Now that's a whole other component. So there's two aspects going on. That's an aspect of entitlement. And so
Right.
there's an aspect of entitlement, and there's also an aspect of fear. And the aspect of fear, and this is where we're going back to killing Robin Hood,
Right.
is that there's something out there, someone is trying to oppress me and keep me from having any level of success. And
Right.
there's the them, and people, the notorious them. We don't know who they are,
Yeah,
but
it's just them, yeah.
them are keeping us down. And so that's the underlying premise behind Kill Robin Hood. And it's all about taking personal responsibility and personal accountability and empowering the individual and helping you connect with what you believe is the true meaning of wealth, identifying what your big enough why is so you have an unprecedented level of motivation to go out and create the life that you want.
Okay. To get rich, you must think rich.
Yes, you must change your mindset.
You know, that's right. You need to change your mindset from negativism to positive thinking, from not feeling woe's me to yes I can. Okay, but that brings me back to my saying. You know, I'm like a hamster going around the same wheel. You know, the fact is that I talk to a lot of people.
Yes.
And all I hear is the reason why they cannot. I mean, it's difficult for me to. I have not yet found somebody that says, you know, you're right. I think is my mindset that is a little bit off kilter here, and I need to change that. I mean, people are just way too set in their ways, aren't they? I mean, am I totally
I
out of
agree with
whack
you, and
on
I'm
this?
smiling. I'm moving through here because I have a illustration. I call it the land of opportunity or the forest of excuses. And
Okay.
so it goes back to what you were saying. So what path are you going to take? You have a choice. And see, our life, like the two of us are sitting here right now having this conversation on your amazing Lifestyle Buzz radio show.
Thank you.
That didn't just happen in the ether. Everything that you did in your life and everything that I did in my life previous to us sitting here in this spot is a culmination of us being here. All of our life experiences, all of our choices that we make. And it's the small choices that we make on a daily basis that make a difference. It's not the big choices.
Right.
We have a tendency to focus on the life-altering events like a marriage, a divorce, the birth of a child, a graduation. And it's all the little things that got us to those big events that we're not focusing on. And so like you said, people will say that any of us can come up with an excuse for absolutely anything.
Yeah.
And how's that working for you is my question that I would ask the person that I would be talking to. Is that getting you where you want? And how much of that is centered in, as you started the show saying, that we need to be grounded and have 2 feet planted on the earth and be clear and focused. And there's an aspect of positive thinking. So
Yes.
you were saying that in order to be wealthy, we have to think wealthy or change our have a paradigm shift or change the way we're thinking. Well, in order for us to we can't just think positive or say happy affirmations.
Right.
We have to do what I call a gap analysis. So we look at where we are, the reality of what our experiences are. So if you're in debt, say you're $50,000 in debt, and if you say to yourself, I have $1 million, I have $1 million, and you're going to do, some people like the law of attraction, so you're going to attract this money to you. Well, if you don't believe it and you're not doing anything to create it, you're not going to get it. You're going to continue to sit in the forest of excuses.
There's an old joke many years ago where people complain about the fact that, you know, after the lottery numbers are gone, they go, damn it, I didn't win either today, you know, and growing, and this goes on and on and on and on. Finally, a friend of this person asks him, well, you know, you keep on buying tickets, and oh, I never buy a ticket. Well, then how can, you know, I mean, here's a person that imagines certain numbers.
Yes.
They don't come out, and he groans and moans, but he hasn't spent $1 to put them out there, you know.
Yes.
So
You have to take action.
You have to actually buy a ticket
Yes.
in order to groan and moan,
Yes.
Yeah.
And so it takes two things. So one, you have to look at where you're at. And then two, you have to identify where you want to be. And that can be very difficult for us to identify where we want to be, because most of us know exactly what it is that we don't want. As you talked about, people being negative and making excuses. So we know what it is that we don't want, but we don't necessarily know what it is that we do want. And part of the reason we don't know what we want is we may not have experienced it yet. And so one of the things that I like to do with my clients is I have them to do a list to identify what they don't want. I call it the list from hell and the list from heaven. And you
Okay.
can do this list for relationships, for jobs, for where you want to live. It's an amazing pros and cons concept that actually comes from Thomas Jefferson and Benjamin Franklin. They used to do this.
Okay.
And so you make a list of everything that you don't want. And then you can do the polar opposite. So if you don't want, so let's talk about relationships, because that one's fun and easy to talk about. So let's say you're looking for a romantic partner and you don't want somebody who's cheap, so you want somebody who's generous. And you don't want somebody who's rude, so you want somebody who's polite. But then you have to take it deeper, because what's generous or cheap to one person is not necessarily generous or cheap to another person.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
So I used to wait tables. I was a waitress for years. When I went through school, as I went through all my variety of educational programs, I always waited tables. Because I was a waitress and I would work double shifts and I know how hard it is, I have a tendency to tip 20, sometimes 25%. And other people will be like, Janine, what are you doing? Why are you putting so much money down? I've even had people go back and try and take money up that I had put down. I'm like, you've got to put that back. You've got to be kidding me. And so what's generous to me and what's generous to someone else might be different.
But
So you have to clarify these things.
It's your recognition. People need to develop that recognition of facts. You recognize a waitress for being a very hard worker, standing on her feet for long periods of time. Maybe at the restaurants, I don't know what the pay scale is, whether they work for cheaper and then the tips or whatever it happens to be.
Traditionally, yes.
The fact is that the tips traditionally have been key
Yes, source of income,
for
absolutely.
as a source of income for a waitress. And
Yes.
and a lot of people see it as, what the heck, she didn't bring me a glass of water. Petty stuff they equate with like a punishment for these people. What they don't see is the going back and forth, putting in miles in a day, serving people, and they have to do it with a smile every single time.
Yes,
So,
and the customers aren't always delightful.
Yeah, the customers sometimes are very rude. Sometimes,
Yes.
So it makes a big difference there. Here's one that I find very interesting, because for me, richness equates to happiness. Now, for many people, happiness means having millions of dollars in the bank.
Well, let's talk about that.
Yeah.
I'm really glad that you brought that up.
Yeah, I mean, so what I'm saying is that there's many levels of what being rich is all about, and my opinion, and I'm going to go to you, is the fact that you need to really soul search to what it is that you're looking for.
Absolutely.
Is it $1 million, and what are you going to do with that $1 million? Or is it provide a living that will get you a house for your family, good food, and love? I mean, what is it that, and that's where people, I think, need to be real in their expectations of what being rich means.
Well,
You
and
go.
I call this connecting with the true meaning of wealth. And so
Okay.
it's a paragraph in the book, and I even have a 8-hour training on how to connect with the true meaning of wealth. And the true meaning of wealth, it's not about money. Money, we don't want money. We want what money can bring to our lives. And I think it's essential for us, and every person, like you said, everybody wants something different. So not everybody wants to be a millionaire. most people want to have a job that they enjoy, that they can maybe have a month worth of vacations. They have a retirement program or some type of pension. They can afford to put their kids through college. They can buy a house. They can have a couple cars. They can take vacations. And they can have barbecues in their backyard, invite their friends over. And if their family needs something, they have a little extra savings or a little bundle to help people out. That's basically what we want. This whole concept of I'm going to be a millionaire and I'm going to live larger than life, that's not something, it's interesting, it's fascinating to watch. It's not necessarily something that we truly want in our lives.
But if you think positive, it can happen. I mean,
Absolutely.
It's something that is in the possibility, especially here in America.
Yes, and I'm glad that you mentioned that as well. So another thing that I talk about in the book is our discombobulated, what's the word I'm thinking of? We have a distorted belief of or perception of what wealth is and what it takes to get wealthy. So we see these shows with, Entertainment Tonight and E-Hollywood, where they're looking at people that are either professional athletes or in the entertainment industry, or they inherited all this money, like the Hiltons, and doing all this crazy behavior and out of control and not contributing to society in positive ways. And so we have this association that that's what that level of wealth is. But about 87% of individuals that are in that high category of wealth, they earned their money through the development of businesses where they provided goods or services.
Jobs.
Over time, provided jobs for the country. They may have started out with very little or no money. They may have even immigrated into this country with $5 in their pocket. And then through time, effort, and persistence, they developed and built a business that stood the test of time with quality goods and services, and then they were able to grow their business, sell their business, build another business, and develop wealth that way. Now, these individuals, and a perfect example, and I talked about them last time I was on the show, but I like to talk about them because they're so much into philanthropic work, is Bill Gates and Warren Buffett. And so they developed wealth over time. They both live very different lifestyles. When you're talking about connecting with the true meaning of wealth, Warren Buffett lives in the same house that he lived in before. He was
well, you know what? One of them was the Walton, the man who invented. He still drove his old '57 pickup truck. Even at the later part of his years. We're gonna take a little bit of a break here.
Okay.
Somebody needs to pay some bills, so we'll be right back. Stay tuned.
You are watching T Radio V, radio in TV.
I'm Zoe Williams.
And I'm Dr. Mark Goulston.
I'm Jeff Brown.
And we make up the Zoe What Morning Show. You can find us here on TRadiov.com every Monday at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. I make you think.
He makes you laugh, and if I get a chance, I'll help you change.
Or make you cry with his attempts at humor.
Radio in TV.
Can you relate? We'll make it happen.
Look at Jeff. What you doing?
Were you mumbling to yourself?
Hey, back there mumbling.
To them.
Yo, what's up? This your boy Kyle Master, and you're checking out T Radio V.
T Radio V.
T Radio V.
Hello, T Radio V. Love you guys. Radio in TV. Radio in TV.
LA Street Angel. Hi, this is Madeline Reese, the LA Street Angel, and I have my talk show here in the middle of Hollywood. So come hang out with me, learn some awesome new cool spiritual stuff. And it's every Thursday, 1 o'clock Pacific time. TRadiov.com. LA Street Angel, called to heal these streets.
Hi, I'm Plastic Martyr, and I've got a new show called Just Like You on T Radio V. It's an inside look into my Hollywood life where I give you a sneak peek into a world of beauty, fashion, and fame. Illusions will be shattered. And of course, there's a little sex, hugs, and rock and roll. Be sure to check it out Wednesdays at 11, only on T Radio V.
You are watching T Radio V, radio in TV.
All right, fellow listeners, welcome back to Lifestyle Buzz, and we're here with Janine Elias. I just realized I never introduced you in the first shot, but you're part of the family already, so welcome back, guys. We are having a great conversation here regarding you getting off your butts and creating some wealth. There's no sin in that.
No, there's not.
Create and maintain a balance. I want to touch on that because there's many people that just don't understand that there's nothing wrong with starting a business just for the sake of being independent, being your own. You're never your own boss, because I've been independent, self-employed for eons, and when I first started my own business, I said I don't have to answer to anybody now. But now you end up answering to all your customers, all your suppliers, to everybody in the world, even a bigger crowd, So one of the things that happened is that I'm sorry. We had a little glitch here. Okay, never mind.
Technical error.
Technical error, yeah. One of the things that happens is that there's a certain amount of fear of people getting started because the first thing that comes into mind is failure. It's true. I mean, there's nothing wrong with being afraid. The only thing is that in order to maintain a balance, you need to also see the risk and go for it or not go for it. I mean, but the thing is once you make up your mind about a certain balance, whether you rather be in your own business or be a great worker, you need to actually go for it. You need to develop it, right?
Yes. And creating balance can be very challenging in every aspect of our life, whether you're a small business owner, whether you're a stay-at-home mom, whether you're a corporate executive, or anything in between. And part of your ability to create the balance that you need in your life is tied to, it goes back to what we were talking about before the break, connecting with the true meaning of wealth.
Right.
And that comes from creating a vision for what you would like your life to be. And creating a vision of what you would like your life to be prevents you from living a life of what I call a life of happenstance.
Okay.
So a life of happenstance is you go to high school, you graduate from high school. Your parents say you should go to college, or maybe you're first generation going to college. You decided to take a couple classes. Somebody comes along and offers you a job. It's not necessarily something you wanted to do, but you needed to make some extra money. It wasn't too bad. You liked it. You took it. In the meantime, you met somebody, you were dating them. They were all right. You didn't care that much about them, but you didn't have anything else to do. They were fun. They were nice looking. They, killed time, so that was fine. Next thing you know, you're still at this company. You may or may not have continued your education, but they promoted you and you stayed. It wasn't what you wanted to do. You weren't even sure what you wanted to do. And this person, now you've been dating them for 3 years, and it's about time to get married. You might want to have kids. They seem like they'd be a good parent. Wasn't the person that you would have picked for yourself, but you married them anyways. Fast forward 20 years later, you hate your job, you're getting a divorce, and you don't even know who your children are, and you're wondering how they ended up this way. And that's when you live a life of happenstance, something that you didn't plan. And when I talk about planning, there's a saying, you plan, God laughs, which is true. And so your plans need to be fluid. So you get an idea of what it is that you want, but be open to change and new experiences where you might change.
So the beware word here would be settling. In a way, some people just settle for what they have without thinking that there might be something better out there.
I think settling, I like that you're using the term settling and that we're exploring the differences. But happenstance, settling is you have two things right in front of you. One's totally awesome, but you don't think you can get it, so you take this one. That's settling. That comes from fear and lack of motivation. But happenstance is there's nothing totally awesome because you haven't identified what you want, so if it was sitting in front of you, you wouldn't even know it.
Right.
And this just happens to be here, so you took it. It's like you're walking down the street, there was something there, oh, you just picked it up and kept walking. You didn't think, well, that's not what it is that I want, left it, and kept going till you found what you wanted. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, I see it both ways. You know, like the two words valid because it's just a semantics in a way. I mean, like for me, happenstance to me is like you don't recognize that there's a choice.
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Or
okay.
you didn't take any effort in developing any level of self-awareness to identify what it is that you really want or what would make you happy.
Right.
And often people do that. As I say, you didn't take any effort. I don't want to come from a derogatory aspect from that. Maybe you didn't know. Because so many of us, we don't know what we don't know. So we don't know that we need to sit down and figure out what we want because we're just living our lives. We get up, we go to work, we do whatever it is that we do. And so I'm all about self-reflection because it is the self-reflected life that has more purpose, there's more meaning, and there's more opportunity.
Okay. In many cases, when people are thinking about doing something, for one reason or another, I have known a lot of people that want to start their own business. They want to move to a better job.
Absolutely.
Many things. And they talk about it, but at the same time, they put these blinders on. And they focus on the fact that they want to make a change, but they don't know which way, for the simple reason that they should go in like this to recognize clues, to see options, to explore different things. I mean, you know, the fact that you are a baker and you're not happy in that business doesn't necessarily mean that you have to go from Dunkin' Donuts to, you know, Joe's Donut here. I mean, you're still in the baking donuts that you don't like anyway.
Right.
But there's nothing that says that you cannot explore. If you like to do things with your hands, the kitchen, how about exploring the possibilities of fast food chef, you know,
right,
in the same field, but a different option.
Or they could create a cronut.
Or they can create a cronut or a donut hamburger or whatever. Yeah. But the creating process is what I think that people get stagnated on.
I think it goes back to we don't know what we don't know and the fear of stepping outside of our comfort zone.
Okay.
And mentorships. So you were saying that you started to speak on one of the titles for one of the chapters in my book is that success leaves clues.
Right.
So if you want to do something, find somebody else who's already doing it and is highly successful at it, and see if you could shadow them or see if they'll be willing to mentor you. Or if you don't know them, say there's somebody that's famous that's doing something and you can't get access to them, watch their business as it has unfolded and take some of the things that they did and implement them. But take them and make them your own. Don't just copy them as a cookie cutter.
Okay, well, that's one of the things that happens in many cases. People read a book, Tony Robbins' book of success.
Yes.
And they go through it, and if you happen to have a conversation with the people like this, they go, well, Tony does it like this. And you go like, okay, well, Tony did it like that, and he succeeded, at least in the fact that he sold you a book,
Yes.
But if you like the concept, what is your take on it? Your take on that particular issue that you like that Tony did, how would you go about it? And then people just get all tongue twisted, and they don't really know how to expand on that particular notion. So what, you can have people that you admire.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of them you can't even get close to, but you can read their books. But the fact is that people today want instant results. They want to.
They need a
something-
coach.
So they need coaching.
They need
of
a
some
coach.
kind,
If
right.
they want instant results, they need a coach. And there's executive coaches, there's life coaches, there's relationship coaches, there's business coaches, there's finance coaches. And often we try to do it ourselves.
There's
And
actually a lot of community involvement too, and
there
where they
is.
provide
Yes, absolutely.
coaching for business too. Yeah.
And when you reach out and you hire a coach to work with you,
Mhm.
they bring with them their breadth of knowledge, their years of experience, the research that they've done. And so they can help you move forward so that you don't have to reinvent the wheel. A lot of trial and error that you might do on your own,
Right.
you can move past that when you hire a coach to help you with these things. And people don't necessarily, it's becoming more popular and people are starting to understand the importance and benefit of a coach. But think of a professional athlete. A professional athlete or an Olympic athlete.
Right.
What was that gentleman, Phelps, who won all the swimming
Right.
gold
Right.
medals?
Mhm.
Now that
Michael Phelps.
So that young man knows exactly what he needs to do, how many hours he needs to swim, how many backstrokes, how many side strokes, how many dives, whatever they do in swimming. He knows everything that he needs to do to prepare for an Olympic game because he's done it before. But you don't see him going and doing it himself. He hires a coach.
He has a coach. Yes.
And the coach helps keep him targeted on track, can look at things that he's not seeing because they're seeing him instead. Because we sometimes can't identify some of the things that we're doing. It's like when you're in the forest, you can't see the trees. So having that outside influence, having somebody to bounce ideas off of, having somebody to make suggestions and guide you in directions that you might not otherwise think of, having a thought partner, having an accountability partner. So having a coach is a very, very powerful experience.
I have to agree with you on that, and I'll give you a little example. I don't know that I can mention names or anything, but I was taking acting classes going back a little ways, and this particular person is a personal acting coach for very well-known movie stars. I mean, one I think I can mention without getting into trouble, Kevin Costner.
Yes.
Everybody sees Kevin Costner on the screen, and they go like, wow, man, the guy can do it all. He has a band, I mean, everything, okay? In fact, every time he gets a role, the first thing he does is he runs it by this particular teacher,
Yes.
who was my coach, so I can always say I'm close to Kevin Costner.
5 degrees of separation.
I tell you, I'll do Shakespeare in a little bit.
Okay.
But no, the fact is that people don't understand that Kevin Costner, as well as he's known, as many movies as he has made, and all of that, reads the script with this coach, and the coach actually
Guides.
sends him in the direction
Yes.
of the script,
Yes,
of
absolutely.
the persona that he's going to take on that script. It's no longer Kevin, but it's going to be Elvis, or it's going to be whatever, and he transforms him.
Yeah.
You know? So that's what a coach can do.
Yes.
The only thing is that are people really, it's in my imagination that they're not too agreeable to having somebody tell them or guide them, because people are a little close-minded about it.
I think that not everybody is ready for a coach.
Right.
I think everybody needs one. Not everybody's ready for one. And there's different times in your life when you're open to that experience and you're ready to take in that information, and other times that you're not. I've been a personal and executive coach for almost 20 years, and
Okay.
I have worked with literally thousands and thousands of clients in all walks of life. And it has to do with the amount of leverage that person has.
Okay.
And what I mean by leverage is, let's say you want to start your own business. And leverage is an aspect of motivation. It's something that's moving you forward. And let's say you want to start your own business because you spend 20 hours a week in traffic driving to and from where you work.
Okay.
And the pain of spending 20 hours a week in traffic, and sometimes even 30, because it could take 3 hours every day
Especially if you
to
have
get
to
to and
listen
from
to
work.
ABBA for a long time.
Well, I can't speak on that aspect, but so the leverage to get out of having that traffic, that person is so motivated because they associate so much pain with being in traffic that they'll do whatever it takes to get that business started. And they're trying to get the business started and they're fumbling, they're not sure where to start. And they go seek out a coach. They want the help. They're ready
Right.
for the help. And they have a lot of leverage because they want that really bad. Those individuals are ideal clients for coaches.
Okay. So what you need to really be aware of, the person looking for help,
Yes.
is to admit that there's something that they want to change fervently. I mean, they really need to believe that it's imperative to make this change and find whatever help is necessary. No?
Well, those individuals are ideal clients because they're highly motivated.
Mhm.
But there's also individuals who something's missing in their life. They're not really sure what it is.
Right.
And they're also, a coach can help them identify what it is that they want so that they can move forward as well.
Okay. Stay true to your word.
Yes. Oh,
That
so
to me means have integrity.
absolutely. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Okay. To me, and I guess I'm the devil's advocate in a lot of this because I see all the positive stuff, but what I'm trying to do is make a change, have people recognize the fact that there's a negative aspect that
Yes.
they project a lot.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm, absolutely.
And one of them is that fealty, loyalty, integrity. Those are words that have become a little empty today. They have become a little unknown. Being an older guy,
Mm-hmm.
I've always had one thing where I say, my handshake is my contract. And it's very true. I tell you I'm going to do something for you. I got to tell you something. I'll move heaven and earth to make sure it happens. And if not, I'll put my face up here and I'll say, Janine, you know what? I tried every single aspect of this and that and the other.
Mm-hmm.
I have not been able to get it done, but give me a little bit more time. So that's my integrity to you, to not lie. That's my bond, is to not lie
Yes.
or stretch the truth or, try to fake it. I don't believe in any of that. I see too many people today that it's just like standard issue. It's like, if I can fool you, I can fool you, and that's it. And they don't have a second thought about it. Am I all wet about that?
Unfortunately, you're so on the nose with that. And there's a lot of variables that have to do with that. You're looking at generational differences. You're looking at people are different depending on what part of the country they're in,
Mm-hmm.
even the different type of careers that they're in. So you've been in the military,
Yes.
right? And I'm an Army brat. My father was in the Army for over 20 years, and I've worked extensively with service members, returning service members from a war zone and helping them reintegrate into civilian society. And one of the biggest challenges they would say that they faced going from being in the military to the civilian society is, in the military, if one of your folks says, I'm going to help you move July 3rd in 2017 at noon, and they said yes, you don't have to talk to them for an entire year. The following year,
They'll
on
be-
July 3rd at
they'll-
noon, they're there,
They're
right?
there, yeah.
Here, and then they come into civilian, and they have a friend. They say, "Can you help me move?" And the friend's like, "Absolutely." And he said, and it was last week that he asked him. And then the day comes, and he's not there in the moving van, and everybody's there. He calls his buddy. He says, "Dude, what's up? Where are you? We're supposed to be moving." "Oh, really? Right now, I'm kind of chilling. I'm watching the game. I don't want to come."
Yeah.
And so there's that aspect of the fly by night. Sure, let's do lunch, or I'll meet you for lunch, or let's
Yeah.
get together, and no intention of following through. It's almost, I don't know if it's polite banter, if it's people don't know how to say no, people don't have the ability to set boundaries.
Yeah, but one of the things that happens, though, that where I see the danger is that I'll have my girl call your girl, okay, babe? Yeah.
Well, you're in
and
Hollywood.
That it by itself means don't commit me to anything I don't know. I'm on airhead, and you have to accept it. And you know, to me, that's not civility at all.
Well, there's another component. There's several things going on here. So keeping true to your word has a lot to do with your ability to set and maintain appropriate boundaries.
Yeah.
And one of those things, and I started out in my early 20s, I struggled with it. And it took me many years to really get clear of staying true to my word, and not just my word to others, but my word to myself. And that's what
Right.
we're talking about in the book. And now, if I can't do something, I'll tell somebody, no, I can't do that. And it can be very difficult for us to say no, and very difficult for us to look someone in the eyes and say, no, I can't. And then they want to know why. And you could simply, I don't want to. And so you have this thing going on. And so we might make polite excuses. I have people coming in from out of town, or there's a variety of things that we could do, but sometimes we don't say no. And
Right.
we don't say what we can or cannot do, or we take on too much, and our intention is to be there. So there's a whole spectrum of things going on with being true to our word. But I also want to speak on, which is even more dangerous and more detrimental, is when we're not true to our word with ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And we do what I like to call the negotiation.
Okay.
So I might say, I'm going to buy a house, and I want to start saving for a house. But there's this trip there's a vacation. I can go to Hawaii for 4 days. And instead, so I negotiate with myself why I don't need to save the money for the house, and why I can blow all this money on my vacation.
And make it up sometime later.
Yes. And so and even a smaller negotiation is, I'm going to start eating healthy. 3 o'clock comes around, I'm hungry, my energy's low, and I grab, a candy bar or something, and that's renegotiation.
Well, you know, it's really funny because there's every year you hear people with the New Year resolutions and and people ask me, "What are your resolutions?" I said, "None." Why? Well, are you kidding me? And people think that I'm failing because I don't do resolutions.
Yes.
But the fact is that very few people actually make the commitment to themselves to make a resolution and carry it out at the beginning of the year.
Yes.
And then a year later they go, well, I blew that year, but this 18, oh man, it's going to be it,
Yes.
or whatever, So people are like that, and you can't help it. Let's take one more here real quick. We have about a minute. Set another goal. You have it here. If you have something that you have in mind, should you be open enough to maybe keep an option open instead, if this one doesn't work, to have an alternate?
Flexibility is important, but not being too flexible.
Okay, all
So
right.
if you want to, let's take weight loss, because we were talking about nutrition. So let's say you want to improve your health, and you might think that you want to lose 40 pounds, and you lose 20 pounds, and it'd be easier for you to maintain that and have the lifestyle that you want. Then you would decide where your quality of life is, your quality of health, what's really important to you, and if that works for you. So you can reassess the goals that you've made,
Okay.
and you can add more
So it's
or
okay
take
to make
away from them.
adjustments.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Janine, we run out of time. Jesus Christ. every time I go through all of this. We get really interesting, but we're running out of time.
Okay.
But this will not be the last time you're going to be here.
Okay.
I'm going to count with you being here with me.
And if people want to connect with me,
Absolutely.
they can reach out to JanineElias.com, or they can make a phone call, 818-888-0191. I'm happy to talk to them and help them as they connect with the true meaning of wealth and kill Robin Hood for themselves.
Buy the book, Kill Robin Hood.
Amazon.com.
It's really, really a good read. And for anything, questions about the show, coolorly@gmail.com. Remember, coolorly@gmail.com. And that's it. We've come to the end of the show. One more adventure, and we'll see you next week. God bless.
Bye.
You are watching T Radio V, Radio and TV.